Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the RDA. I hope you are doing well. Last night's performance was definitely a bore fest by many standards, but I don't think there's much to talk about in terms of the actual game itself. We're through to the quarterfinal, which is probably the most important thing. I think Scott McTominay getting the goal is a great thing for his confidence. He is now joint third most goals this season, behind Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, of course, which is absolutely fantastic for somebody who's A, being played out of position, but B, is still a work in progress. Now, a lot of the criticism I've heard of Scott McTominay over recent years and recent months, actually, even on this channel, is I don't know what he offers to the team. I don't think he's a defensive midfielder. I don't think his passing is particularly great. And people just think he's just a passion merchant. Now, debunking all four of those things is very easy, or counteracting all four of those things is very easy. Number one, we all know he's not a DM. He's being played out of position because he came on a Manchester United podcast and said that he is a box-to-box midfielder. And in the academy, for most of you that don't know, McTominay was actually a striker. So not only did he play out of position coming into the Manchester United setup and being promoted to the first team, but he's now playing as a deep-sided midfielder, and furthermore, he plays as a centre-back for Scotland. That just goes to show how versatile Scott McTominay really is. I've always rated Scott McTominay, and I can't say the same for people on this channel. I've always said he is a good utility player and a fantastic squad-level player for Manchester United, and you cannot win league titles, major trophies, even minor trophies without utility players who can do a job when shit is going down. You need your James Milners, you need your Carricks, you need your Fletchers. Now, I'm not saying Carrick was a utility player, but it's that mold of player who is underrated, who did a job that most people can't recognize with their eyes. And what's more impressive about Scott McTominay is looking at all of those other three things. His passing is horrible. Well, his passing is actually not that bad because he's playing in a deep pivot. I'm pretty sure his main purpose as a deep midfielder, as a defensive midfielder who's playing in a double pivot and has been instructed to sit back, his main purpose or his main goal is to retain the ball. So sideways passes are natural. Sideways passes are natural. Not to mention, he is still a work in progress and he will improve with time. That's what I've always said about McTominay. Now, a lot of people seem to think I like McTominay more than Fred, and that is completely false. I like them both for different reasons. But the reason why I talk about Scott McTominay and I defend him more is because A, he's an academy graduate and still very young, which means he has more potential than Fred. And B, he is being played out of position. Whereas with Fred, all I've heard from people is at some point he had one of the most interceptions in the league. He's extremely tenacious. He wins the ball in key areas for Manchester United, and therefore he is a better DM than McTominay. Well, I'm sorry, you just said that McTominay is not a DM, so comparing Fred to McTominay to justify him playing as a DM makes no sense. It's like saying Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one of the best right backs in the world because you're comparing him to Trent this season. I thought you said Trent was crap. So how can you compare somebody to something that's crap in order to prove that it's good? That doesn't make sense. You can't compare gold with shit. You have to compare gold with platinum, gold with silver, or gold with other metals in order to prove why gold is valuable. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on McTominay. Let's move on. Marcus Rashford, very frustrating player to watch at the moment, and I understand that. But for me, I'm a huge Marcus Rashford fan. He's my favorite player at the club. My top 5 favorite players at the club, and McTominay is not in them, actually. David De Gea, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford. Those other 2 spots are heavily contested, but Bruno Fernandes has to be in there for me personally, and actually Victor Lindelof. I'll have a bit of Victor Lindelof. I know that's not very popular for a lot of people, but I do like my defenders, in world football. Everybody who knows me personally knows I'm a huge fan of Sergio Ramos. I tend to like defensive-minded players a lot more than attacking players, even though it's not really possible, even though it's not really, I can't even speak anymore, even though it's not really popular in the game of football. My favorite players growing up have even always been goalkeepers, but anyways, I digress. Marcus Rashford. What are my thoughts on him? A, he has the second most goal contributions behind Bruno Fernandes this season. And B, although the criticism towards Marcus Rashford at times is justified, I think he gets overly criticized sometimes. People say, why does Marcus Rashford not get dropped and Martial gets dropped? Because if Martial gets dropped, we can play Cavani in his position. If we drop Marcus Rashford, who can we play in Marcus Rashford's position? Oh, Martial, who's been crap this season? I don't think so. Oh, Greenwood? No, he already plays out on the right. True, Dan James. You guys really want to drop Marcus Rashford with Dan James? All right. all right, the reason why Marcus Rashford doesn't get dropped, it's probably a little bit to do with favoritism, I'll admit that, but a large part of it is because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has no one else to play on that left wing. Martial is playing out of position in the left wing. He's having one of his worst seasons at the minute. Or not completely one of his worst seasons, but he's having a bad season. You know where Martial's best season came from? When he had 20 goals in all competitions and 7 assists or 6 assists. You know where it came from? Playing in the 9. Playing Martial on the left, out of position, in order to compensate Rashford, who has the second most goal contributions, but anyways, in order to compensate for Rashford getting dropped, makes absolutely no sense to me, because you are A, moving a player out of a position where he had his best season ever to drop another player. B, you're moving a player out of his position to drop another player who has the second most goal contributions in the team. Are you okay, blood? Doesn't make sense to me. And look, Rashford does need to improve his final ball, but Rashford is on course to be one of our top goal scorers of all time. So, again, like Bruno Fernandes, people say Bruno loses the ball too much. Yeah, but if he stopped losing the ball, then he'd be the perfect midfielder. And hardly anyone is the perfect midfielder. Same with Rashford. If he did improve his final ball, if he did score 10 out of 10 shots every single game, he'd be mad, fam. He's already mad, according to some people. 23 years old, MBE, look at what he does off the field, and look at what he's done on the field. Just the hatred towards Rashford for me personally doesn't make sense, but you know, it is what it is. Donny van der Beek, also it is what it is. He was horrible yesterday in it, but I think that's a topic for another video. Anyways, hope you did enjoy that little bit of a rant about Scott McTominay and Marcus Rashford. You know, not really much else to say about the game. I think it was an awful performance, but the important thing is that we won and we're through to the quarterfinals. So yeah, peace out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Actually, you know, but yeah, peace out.